All right, to read the latest polls within the Democratic Party and the 20-some-odd people who are now running for president, Joe Biden is running away with it. But, you know, when it comes to who has the best chance of finishing the nominee of the party, Professor Cornel West is a big fan of Bernie Sanders. He was when he was running against Hillary Clinton. He is all the more now that he is running against Joe and all those others. And he says, when all is said and done, it will be Bernie, as it should be. Take a look.
There's a number of socialist experiments that have failed, and there's a number of capitalist experiments that have failed. There's a number of capitalist experiments in the United States that has failed. Healthcare is a sick market. We've got some healthy markets, we keep them. That's a sick market. You need public intervention. The history of slavery, the history of Jim Crow, the history of patriarchy, the history of not allowing the personal dignity of gays and lesbians and trans. Those are failures for us as a capitalist society. But we can intervene, and we intervene democratically, we intervene constitutionally, but we intervene with strong organization.
But what if we can't afford it?
That's
I mean, what happens under Democratic?
We can afford it.
Wait a minute. Under Democratic and Republican presidents, our debt is piled up to the point that it's $22 trillion. Now, Bernie Sanders is a fan of raising taxes, particularly the upper income, dramatically to address that, and you are for that, right?
No, you got to keep in mind, my brother, from Reagan to Trump, we have been increasing military budgets continuously. And that's
true for Obama,
Clinton.
We've been increasing a lot of budgets, right? As a percentage of GDP.
Across the board.
As a percentage, you're right. All that spending has gone on. I don't apologize and make apologies for any party on that. But we can't afford the government we have now. So how are we going to afford even more than this later?
Well, no, I think the argument is that poverty, jobs with a living wage, women's rights, those are issues of national security in the same way the military is issues of national security. This is what Martin Luther King Jr. understood: militarism, racism, poverty, materialism, because we got a spiritual crisis, too. You agree with me on that.
Well, but we've spent trillions fighting the war on poverty with noble goals, right? And I'm just wondering, the actual percent of those impoverished has remained roughly the same through that period, through Democratic and Republican presidents. So I guess what I'm asking you is more money
we did
the
a good job with... No, we did a good job with poverty for our precious elderly. But the problem was, instead of going for full employment with dignity of labor, we went welfare programs. Welfare programs are qualitatively different than full employment. That was a major battle that we lost in the 70s, and that goes back to when liberalism itself began to respond to its own failure. What was the part we
screwed up? I didn't understand you there. That we went to welfare, or that our goal was full employment?
No, we should have gone full employment to ensure that people have access with a living wage.
Well, that's what Donald Trump is doing now. Isn't he trying that now?
Well, no. But it's not a living wage, though. The statistics are good. I give Brother Trump credit for that, but it's still grotesque wealth inequality. It's still no workers control at the workplace.
It's better than it was. You're quite right. We have a long way to go.
The numbers are better than it was. Oh, absolutely.
So for African Americans, the lowest unemployment rate they're looking at in what, 50-plus years? Would you give the president any credit for that?
I give him credit for that, absolutely. But the issue has never been just the statistics. The issue has to do with, are there jobs with a living wage? Are there people working 2 jobs still living in poverty? Are we able to deal with the grotesque wealth inequality, the 1% only 41% of the wealth, and 3 individuals having wealth equivalent to the 50% of the population? You can have wealth inequality and still have good numbers. We're talking about the quality of life of our fellow citizens, just not the statistics.
I hate to be blunt, but is that enough to win an election? You make a lot of very good points, Professor, but do you think that is enough to win an election? The rap against Bernie Sanders, you're quite right. He was ahead of all this stuff, whether you like or agree with his points of view, but he was saying this decades ago. Having said that, the rap against him, can't win, you say?
But I don't know why. He could have beat Trump back then if the Democratic Party had treated him fairly and allowed the Clinton machine to get out of the way. We can beat him this time. We're going to generate the enthusiasm. You just watch us, though, brother. You watch.
All right, but if Joe Biden were the nominee, it's not going to happen, you seem to be saying, right?
I just don't see it.
All right, he may not see it, but a lot of polls seem to indicate right now that Joe Biden could be the nominee and not Bernie Sanders.